A nail-biter of an election night, how Wall Street could react to a power shift on Capitol Hill. In today's cover story, voters take the minimum wage controversy into their own hands. Signs gold prices are not done dropping yet. Plus, the device that could take the selfie to new heights. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Miles. It's Wednesday, November 5th. In today's First Look, power trip on Capitol Hill. Hard-fought races around the nation end with the GOP in control. For Senator Mitch McConnell, it was an easy and early election night.
Tonight, they said we can have real change in Washington, real change.
A Republican-controlled congressional agenda is expected to include a push for a new Asia-Pacific trade pact and legislation that is friendlier to oil companies. In market action Tuesday, a small 18-point gain for the Dow. The Nasdaq dropped back 15 and the S&P 6. Gold continues to attract sellers, falling $2, and oil lost $1.71. Trader Larry Shover of SFG Alternatives is here with some trader talk. Hello, Larry.
Good morning.
We are post-midterm election. What do you watch for today with market reaction? What is your game plan for trading today?
Yeah, just going beyond that, with the elections behind us, I mean, most people realize that no matter who won, it really wasn't going to change anything right now. There wasn't really anything on the table that had a better than 50-50 chance of passing. So with that in mind, rejoicing in the earnings season that's been very good, looking past ECB and jobs report on Friday and just keeping back to fundamentals, keeping your portfolio nice and balanced.
Oil is trading around $77 per barrel, Larry. These are levels we've not seen in 3 years. Is this causing the drag on the stock market?
It could be, but what's really interesting about that is that the boom here in the United States has really been more on technological production, and we've never had this kind of drawdown in oil before, so really we're in uncharted waters. I mean, some experts think we can handle $70 a barrel oil before it hurts our industry, but we'll remain to see.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
For more on potential stock market fallout from the election, Chuck Coppola steps in now. Chuck.
Angie, it was a good night for Republicans. They held their majority in the House of Representatives and took control of the Senate. Market watchers are now weighing in on what that could mean for the stock market.
That's the best combination for market gains, with a Democratic president and a fully controlled Republican Congress averaging gains for the Dow of 19.5% since 1949. So it's kind of a win-win situation.
Newly elected Republicans will represent Arkansas, West Virginia, and Montana. In Georgia, Republican David Perdue won by a wide enough margin to avoid a runoff. And in Colorado, Democratic incumbent Mark Udall was defeated by Republican Cory Gardner.
In its first test of predicting election outcomes stock market style, a new website made the call Republicans would take control of the House and the Senate. Predictic.com makes shares available for Americans in some states, but not all, to legally invest in the outcome of elections. Predictic was just approved by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission last Wednesday.
In our cover story, voters in 5 states found ballot measures to raise the minimum wage. Some call it an effort to get out Democratic-leaning voters, while others call it an end around legislatures that have blocked it, arguing that it would cause fewer people to be hired and would put the brakes on economic growth. The minimum wage fight has moved from Washington to state houses and now directly to voters in individual states, bypassing lawmakers.
The cowards. We have a lot of cowards in office.
I think this is an effort to establish a baseline. People need, if they work full-time, they should be able to support themselves and a family.
The minimum wage used to be roughly half of the average wage in America. Congress set it there after World War II, but the last time Congress raised it was 2009. Though President Obama ordered government contractors to pay $10.10 an hour, the federal minimum for everyone else is $7.25, 36% of the average wage. For a 40-hour work week, it amounts to $15,080 a year, below the federal poverty line for a family of 2. But some businesses predict raising it may raise competition for jobs.
You will get a better employee selection. I guarantee that. It's kind of also going to be bad in that sense, because if there were 3 people working, now 2 people are going to divide 3 people's work.
Do you think it will cause prices to go up or fewer people to get jobs?
I do think it's a complicated issue. I know it's not just as simple as, oh, everything will be great if everyone just makes more money. I know there's trade-offs.
Voters in 4 states considered binding minimum wage increases. Alaska to $9.75, Arkansas and South Dakota to $8.50, Nebraska to $9, and a 5th state, Illinois, a non-binding advisory vote to raise it to $10 an hour. Illinois, the scene of protests to raise it even higher.
The great swath of working Americans have not gotten a pay raise. So incomes are flat. And you can see that even with the economy getting better, people are saying, I don't feel it.
Voters have heard opponents argue that it will cause job loss, stunt economic growth. But in the last 2 years, 13 states and the District of Columbia have raised their minimum. Going into the election, 23 states had minimum wages higher than the federal level. Some cities were considering even higher raises. Voters in San Francisco, for example, considered a $15 an hour minimum. Across the bay in Oakland, $12.25 an hour.
Turning to other news this morning, an alarming number of GM vehicles recalled for ignition switch repairs still have not been fixed. According to reports, GM is offering $25 gift cards to entice people to bring their cars in. It's reported only 1.2 million cars out of the original 2.6 million recalls have been fixed. The models include Chevy Cobalt and Saturn Ions, among other older model cars. The defective ignition switch recall began 9 months ago. GM is also said to be reaching out to customers via social media and even by phone.
Southwest Airlines is in a high-flying fight with the U.S. government. The Justice Department is suing the airline to enforce a $12 million civil penalty brought by federal aviation officials. The FAA alleges that the airline hired a contractor who improperly repaired 44 Boeing 737 jetliners for cracks in the aircraft's aluminum skin. Southwest spokesman states, "We dispute the FAA's allegations and look forward to the opportunity to vigorously defend Southwest's record in a court of law."
The nation's big banks are going on cyber defense. According to the Wall Street Journal, banks, including Citigroup and JP Morgan Chase, are funding a group of cybersecurity firms to launch a hacker-fighting system. It's called Soltra Edge. It could be in place next month. It makes it possible for financial firms to communicate faster about potential cyber breaches. Recently, JP Morgan Chase exposed a massive security breach affecting 73 million households. JP Morgan intends to spend $250 million on cybersecurity.
Herbalife CFO is also on the defensive following a 20% fumble in the stock Tuesday. The steep sell-off comes after worse than expected earnings from the nutrition company for the third quarter. It included a 44% decline in new recruits in China. Still, John DeSimone, Herbalife CFO, tells CNBC that the company posted record top-line growth. Trader Tom White of Red Option Advisors suggests Herbalife's tumble may not be over.
I'm thinking, anywhere from 5 to 10%. Some of these active investors are saying that, the company's worth zero. So if it's confirmed that it's a pyramid scheme, if they get, fined by the FTC and some of these other regulatory agencies, we could see some big downside in the shares.
Last Friday, Herbalife paid $15 million to settle a class action lawsuit alleging that its business model was a pyramid scheme. DeSimone contends that the company would have prevailed, but chose to settle for what he called cost and distraction purposes.
The first earnings report from Alibaba after becoming a publicly traded company is giving investors reason to buy the stock. Baba shares reached a record high of $106 Tuesday. The number of people using the Chinese internet e-tailer jumped by 52% within the last year to 307 million active buyers. Overall revenue surged 54% to more than $2.7 billion, beating the street expectation of $2.6 billion.
Alibaba wasn't the only earnings stunner. Burger King turned in its best sales numbers in 2 years with help from its chicken fries. Its earnings were in line with Wall Street expectations, but shares fell 11 cents. Agriculture company Archer Daniels Midland saw earnings jump 60% on strong demand for corn-based ethanol. That stock rallied 4% yesterday. Michael Kors stock dropped 8% after lowering its sales outlook. The fashion label cited a slowdown in mall traffic, and Priceline stock tumbled $100 yesterday after warning that the rising strength of the U.S. dollar may have international travelers rethinking trips. However, it said earnings last quarter rose 28%.
Traders and investors are closely watching gold unfold. Gold has lost a third of its value in the past 2 years. During the past few sessions, gold futures have plunged 5%, breaking below $1,180 per ounce. How low will gold go? Ron Steinberg, founder of Future Road, offers this answer.
I actually think that we're going to find a bottom pretty soon. I'm bearish overall from a longer term standpoint, but I think we're going to correct pretty soon. And then after we do correct, I do think we're going to hit them pretty hard again and get a nice big move back to the downside.
China is the biggest buyer of gold. Usually when gold prices fall, Chinese investors swoop in to buy gold at rock bottom prices. That hasn't happened yet, which also suggests gold still has more room to decline.
The trade gap increases as exports fall and imports surge. Consumer goods imports hit a record high in September, driven by high demand of the latest lineup of iPhones, as imports from China hit an all-time high. U.S. exports slumped, however, to a 5-month low in September, signaling a slowdown in global growth.
Asia isn't pulling its weight in the global fight against Ebola, according to the president of the World Bank. In his remarks, Dr. Jim Young Kim cites the wealth of trained healthcare workers in Asia who could be sent to West Africa. South Korea has pledged money, and both Japan and China have sent equipment and medical staff. Nearly 5,000 people have died from Ebola.
Rolls-Royce will cut 2,600 jobs, and most of them within the company's aerospace unit over the next year and a half. The company's CEO warns more layoffs may follow as the company tries to become stronger and more profitable. Workers call the cutbacks a short-term decision that will be regretted later. Last month, Rolls-Royce warned revenues this year will be lower by as much as 4%.
Botox is becoming more popular with men. Nearly 400,000 men received Botox injections last year in the U.S. That's a jump of 310% compared to a decade ago. The wrinkle filler was injected into 5 million women last year. According to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, more men have been getting Botox since the financial crisis because they want to look younger for job interviews.
The CEO and co-founder of popular dating app Tinder gets rejected. Forbes reports Sean Rad is getting ousted from his position as CEO. He will stay on the board and serve as president while the company is on the prowl for a new leader. Tinder is owned by Interactive Corp, which reportedly wants a more experienced CEO. The app is said to be worth $1 billion.
Checking the economic calendar for today, it's the MBA Mortgage Index, ADP Employment Change, ISM Services, and crude inventories. On the earnings calendar, Zillow, Qualcomm, Mondelez International, News Corp, Chesapeake Energy, Tesla Motors, and Whole Foods. Still to come, is the rivalry over between Google and Apple? Can they be friends? Plus, why personalized drones could be the wave of the future. And the go-to gift idea that most holiday shoppers say is a sure thing this year. Could turn into a gift card Christmas. Janine Skowronski of Bankrate.com is Skyping with us this morning to explain. Good to see you. And are gift cards becoming more popular?
Gift cards have always pretty much been popular, and we're seeing the same trend kind of continue this year. Over 75% of all consumers have either given or received a gift card.
Why is this happening, do you think?
Well, I think one of the things that we learned is that retailers are starting to add e-gift cards into the mix. And those gift cards are super easy to give, to receive, and they're also easy to personalize. So that could be helping contribute to the popularity.
Now, are there ever fees attached that people should be aware of? Some issues maybe out there that you've noticed?
Well, one of the things that we noticed is store cards generally don't have a lot of fees associated with them. Stores benefit from getting you in there, making repeat customers, and then also they're banking on you spending more than the gift card is worth. But if you're going to buy a general purpose gift card, a gift card issued by a bank or a network, those cards tend to have fees attached to them, activation fees, dormancy fees, etc.
Exactly. Back in the day, there was a really big issue with these cards that would expire. What's the update on that situation?
So legislation passed alongside the CARD Act gave consumers some more rights in terms of gift cards. They don't expire as quickly. They have to have upfront disclosure. So it's definitely gotten better.
Well, thank you for that update, Janine.
Sandwiched between tough competitors, Quiznos Sub Shops continues to struggle. The Denver-based chain closed 3,000 stores and filed for bankruptcy protection in March. The company is now staking its future on overseas expansion. That's according to Bloomberg, specifically in Asia and in the Middle East. Quiznos hopes a growing demand for American restaurants will boost its battered bottom line.
Coming up, a trader has food for thought on why chip maker stocks could be heading higher. And after the break, the new device that is taking a shot at GoPro. Stay with us. Tech giants agree to play nice and actually share content. In an unprecedented agreement, Apple and Google will share rights on digital content. The Walt Disney Company was the go-between in the deal. Consumers who buy a Disney movie will be able to watch it on either company's devices. Bill Mueller has a scoop on how young Americans are disrupting the tech industry.
You know, it's always fun to see what the world's sharpest young minds are conjuring up to sort of advance this world. Intel has put a lot of money on the line as sponsor of this sort of Shark Tank tech competition. It's called Make It Wearable Challenge. It was held just this week, and first place, along with $500,000, was awarded to the creators of this thing. It's amazing. It's called the Nixie. Christoph Korstal, he is the CEO and founder of the company. And wow, congratulations. This thing is sort of like a selfie drone. Why don't you give me just sort of the 20-second pitch of how it works?
Yeah, usually with cameras, you just take pictures of things you see. As soon as you want to take a picture of yourself, you figure fast that your arm is often not long enough. So imagine you had a camera that would fly off your wrist and get a shot of you from an awesome perspective. This is what Nixie will do for you.
Now, you enjoy tinkering with helicopters and drones. How did the idea of this camera come to you?
Yeah, I've been using drones for a while now, and they're great, but you got to learn how to control them, and you got to pack them in a big backpack. So we really wanted to make it a consumer product, something everyone would love to use every day, and so it needs to be simple to be controlled.
Have you figured out actually the technology that allows it to intuitively fly away, turn around, find you, take the picture, and then return to your wrist?
Yeah, we are writing these algorithms right now, even also have a patent pending on this. So it's really about this user experience, which is totally different and totally new.
When do you think it'll actually be on the market?
It's going to take us for sure 6 months more of research development. Then we would have a production-ready prototype, and it's going to take another half a year to really bring it to market.
All right, so we don't get it for this Christmas, but maybe a Christmas of 2015. Do you have any idea what the price might be?
No, because we don't know yet exactly which sensors we will need, but think of a GoPro, but a GoPro that can fly. So it gives you cool value.
All right, I really like this. Christoph, thank you so much. It's just one of the different devices that's won some money here from the Intel competition. And we'll look for this when it goes on sale, hopefully in 6+ months. Christoph, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Still ahead, find out how Intel and other big chip maker stocks are performing this year and what the future holds for the sector. A chip check is next. Chart Talk this morning, Dan Deming of Equity Armor Investments joins us for a chip chat. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Angie.
So the semiconductors were giving a lot of strength to this market on Monday. It looks like there's a coming back of these stocks. What do you see in the charts?
Yeah, pretty interesting, Angela. Like you said, we saw in the middle of September, the semiconductor average, the SMH is an ETF based on the semiconductor sector, so that's something that we watch very closely. Peak at 52.55, and then we saw, big drawdown, a gap down in that, if you look at the charts. Back below its 200-day moving average, now back above its 50-day moving average, and pushing back up towards those highs, closing yesterday at 51.70. So just a smidge off the highs that we saw in September, so all the way back.
Intel is a heavyweight in the chip sector. What do you see specifically in Intel? It's up this year. What, about 40% or so?
Yeah, you're seeing, like you said, it's the heaviest weighted stock in the SMH. You also look at the names like Micron and Broadcom are two other stocks that are up significantly as well this year. So basically, across the board, you're pretty much seeing most of the semiconductor stocks up pretty significantly. Saw that bobble about a month ago, some weakness. It really, I think, was the leading indicator to lead this market lower. But now, if we can see it get back above this closing high that we saw in September of 52.55, I believe, that could signal another move higher, and that could give the overall market some further strength.
So the chips may still have a little bit more room to run.
They're right there. They could pop higher in this next week, for sure, Angela.
Thanks for helping us out, Dan.
Thank you.
That wraps it up for today. Coming up tomorrow in Movies and Money, our film critic will be here with his view of severe layoffs reported at Warner Brothers as the company attempts to recover from box office bombs. From all of us at First Business, it's curtain time for us. See you tomorrow.